Hello everyone and welcome to another video on this channel. As you can see, I'm on my desk, and usually I'm not on my desk, I'm out hiking and photographing, but today I want to show you my landscape photography gear. First of all, a little bit of background for those of you that are new here. My name is Toma. I'm a landscape and travel photographer. I'm based in Romania. I photograph in Romania and other places in Europe until now, and I'm being a full-time landscape photographer from 2008, so I'm completely living from landscape photography. And this gear is a reflection of my philosophy on photography, and especially on landscape and travel photography, and it's based on my needs. So it's not necessarily the best gear that you can buy on the market, but I will tell you why I think this is best for me. First of all my equipment, it's Canon, for no particular reason. It's just that my first camera was a Canon, and usually this is what happens. If your first camera is a Canon, then you go with Canon. If it's Nikon, you go with Nikon, and so on. Let's start with the main camera. The main camera is a Canon 6D. It's not the newest camera on the market, but I think it produces a really great value, and I think there's no reason for me to change it at this point. At least at this point, there is no reason for me to change this camera. For me, it has enough dynamic range to cover everything that I need, and it resisted well through cold. It went out up to minus 20 degrees. It stayed in the rain. It was covered in dust. It was pretty wet at some point. So even though it's not a completely sealed body, weather sealed body, for the conditions that I'm photographing in, it was okay. Now, when I bought my gear, I wanted to pay a decent amount of money for it, but also didn't want it to be that heavy, because my landscape photography usually involves hikes, and not always I want to carry all this equipment in my bag together with the tripod and all the other things that you need on a hike. So I wanted to have the lightest equipment possible for that money at that period of time. Now, the second body that I have, it's a Canon 80D. The reason for which I bought the 80D is to help me film my vlogs first, because of the dual pixel technology that does autofocusing during the video, and the second reason is to have a secondary camera with me. I don't want to hike up to a place and don't have a camera to shoot with. Now, in terms of lens, I have, first of all, the cheapest lens is this one, the Canon 10 to 18 millimeters. It's usually used for vlogging, but it's also used for photographing landscapes when, for example, I want to get this camera out of the backpack, or for some reason it's easier to use this camera. There are situations when you need to get really low, and using this screen and focusing just with a touch of your finger, it helps a lot. The 70 to 200 millimeter f4 image stabilized. I don't think it's worth buying a telephoto lens without image stabilization, because you will have situations when you photograph by hand and you need image stabilization. Why I didn't buy the f2.8? The reason was the weight, 2 times the weight of this, and the price, 2 times the price of this, at least at that particular moment. And I think this produces results that are sufficient for me. It produces a quality that is sufficient for me, and that this lens helped me a lot. As a landscape photographer, you will not always be able to be close to further elements. This is the first use of this, but you also want to have the ability to get intimate to in some situations, and to be able to frame the subject and to exclude all other elements. So it's not necessarily a lens that you use it to shoot things that are really far away, but you can also use it to photograph things that are closer to you, but you want to eliminate all the other things that you don't want in a frame. 17 to 40 millimeter lens f4. 17 millimeter, it's enough for me. Very rarely I need 16 millimeters. So again, the price of the 17 to 40 millimeter is much lower than the 16 to 35. and I think the quality, again, the quality of the image that produces, it's fair for me. And then I have another lens. I have the 24 to 105 millimeters. Now, when I usually hike, I go either with this or with these two, depending on the landscape that I'm going to photograph. For example, this, I'm using it when I'm photographing inside forest. 17 is too wide, 200 it's too telephoto, and the 24 to 105 it's perfect. Why not the 24 to 70? Sometimes I find that I need more than 70 millimeters, and that is the reason for which I have the 24 to 105. Another place in travel photography, it's perfect to have this. Inside cities, you have one lens with you that will cover everything. Every lens has its own circular polarizer on it. The circular polarizers are from Hoya. There are the HD version and the slim version of every filter from the Lee Foundation. I think the holder from the Lee, if you don't want to buy the filters from Lee, buy at least the holders, and you can use it with Kokin Z version, I think. So this one, because of this quick release thing, this squeaky thing, it's a lot. It helps you to get things moving. Now, in terms of ND filters and ND gradiated filters, I have Lee. I have the big stopper from Lee. I also have the little stopper, but because it's glass, at some point I did something like this, and the filter shattered to pieces. So you need to be extra careful. And now I have only the big stopper. And the gradiated filter, I have the soft version, the 3-stop, 2-stop, and 1-stop. Although 1-stop, it's not very used in my work, but this came as a package, and that is why I also have that one. In terms of remote control, I like to use a wireless one. I think it's nice to have this one because this is around my neck all the time, and when I just want to photograph, I just want to click. I had remote controls with wires and I lost them. Another thing is this is the LCD viewer or LCD viewfinder. I didn't use, usually this comes with a metal frame that you stick on the LCD of your camera. I don't want to do that. I just want to be able to put it like this and evaluate the photo properly when the light is too bright. And this is connected and stays to my neck. It's like my bad dream catcher. It's like my good luck charm. Now, I also have a piece of gear that it's not, you will not directly think to it as a landscape photographer gear, but the drone offers such an interesting perspective on things and can help you see things completely different. It can open new possibilities, having the ability to go on a vent, not necessarily extremely up in the air. I rarely shoot from 100 or 200 meters. I usually shoot from, let's say, 10 meters above me, 50 meters above me, 75 meters above me. It's just to get a vantage point, a point that is so different that people will actually wonder, how did you photograph that place from such a point? And it offers some really interesting opportunities, the drone. The reason for which I went with the Mavic Pro is the size. Now, in terms of tripods, I have Manfrotto tripod, and I have the 0.55 version and the 190 version. Both are carbon fiber tripods, and I think for landscape photography, carbon fiber are a must, especially if you are a tall guy like me. Carrying an aluminum tripod with me for my height, it's not a pleasant thing to do. I also have this small tripod, also from Manfrotto, Pixie Evo I think it's called, which is really great if used with this in situations when I want to be really low, something like this. You can also support my channel and my work by buying one of my editing courses. The link is in the description of this video. And until next time, keep on photographing. It's the only way that you can get better. Bye bye.